At first, I started by following my own trails that I'd been marking. It was pretty simple, some cuts on trees that were easily discerned, another mark if I saw something of interest, just enough to be able to steer and not end up lost. I'd been heading up mountain from the bluff, having no other particular direction to try, and it had panned out fairly well thus far. I located some more of the yams, discarded the off-color ones, and put the rest in my container. The yams were the most important. Potato plants of all kinds are nutrient-dense, meaning that even a single yam was a lot of bang for your buck. Remembering my dietary training from when I was competing, calories were important, but here it was reversed. Rather than what most people would do and try to stay to 2,000 calories or less, we were both essentially cross-training, expending absurd calories. On the daily, I estimated we'd need 5,000 calories apiece to maintain weight. We needed to retain fat, but how to get there? Let's do some math on that. 5,000 calories a day, split between 3 meals, so 1,667 calories per meal. One yam is 162 calories each. A large steak, such as the ones we got off the cougar, is 685 calories, so that would leave 820 calories up for grabs for just one meal. The broths are providing at least some calories on top of that, along with some extra nutrients, but we're still running short, given how much work we're doing. We had to increase intake, we needed beans and other calorie adds, alongside things like mushrooms, fiber vegetables, and at least one source citrus. The float fish had been closest to salmon, and if I remember correctly, 121 calories per 3 ounces. We've been using around 6 ounces. Cuts, putting it to 242. 578 calories left to go if I keep it all together. The best part for that would be something like granola, giving me 597 calories per cup, and it would be portable to allow for snacking while we're on the trail. Problem is, no granola as far as I've seen. So where do I get the calories? Nuts and seeds, I'm guessing. There would probably be something like pine nuts around, and those are around 190 calories per ounce. Problem is season. I took a break, unshouldering the harness, and sat down to read the fauna guide. Nuts would be a great add, but they don't generally ripen until late summer to early fall, and so far, most seasonal points have remained the same between here and Earth. So let's take a look here. Grains are out. Great long term, but that's seasons off, and unless we hit the mother lode in one go, their planting season would be essentially over before we could plant them in an amount that matters. Checking the section on nuts, it was similarly problematic. They wouldn't be ready to harvest for months yet, so even knowing where to get them just wouldn't matter for a while yet. Looking through the section of vegetables, there were a few that stood out, some leafy greens, tubers. It was a pretty solid arrangement. I'd need to get as much as possible. I went back over the list, looking at the pictures. And wait, I've seen those plants. Those were producing beans? I'd been more on the lookout for yams at first. I worked my way slowly back along my path, checking my marks. I also found a couple of spice plants, something akin to mint. Rather than pick them, I used my knife to break the ground around the plant and took 3 whole plants with me, pouring some of my water right onto the roots before continuing on. I did finally find the plant I was looking for, a whole field of them. Near the edge of the field was a white moss. Checking the book, it was edible as well. I took the bean plants, the moss, roots included. The shell was getting heavy to pull, and marking the area, I started heading back when I heard the beep. My green light was blinking, and needing a break, I hit it and sat on the edge of the container shell. It was Annabelle.
Afternoon, Val.
Hi, Annabelle. What can I help you with?
I was huffing and puffing a bit, but put on my best time to talk to the camera's face.
Today, I wanted to talk to you about the fight yesterday with Keith's dire cougar. We know that you, as well as all the competitors, saw how the fight went down. What were your feelings?
Annabelle had the determination of a reporter asking a teammate how they felt, seeing someone else make a great play. I took a swig from my bottle before answering.
It was terrifying. I mean, I didn't know exactly where they were, so even if I'd tried to go save him, I doubt it would have worked, even if I could reach them in time. Watching, it was insane. Keith's a big guy, and he still looked like some deranged mouse charging a cat.
The thought made me sick, and I wasn't just acting on that front.
Worse was watching as every arrow hit, and it didn't stop the thing. Even with 9 arrows in it, it was still absolutely deadly. And then Keith took the hit from the paw, and my heart stopped as he slammed into the tree. Honestly, I don't know how he got up from that hit, let alone kept fighting, and then walked the whole way back.
She was following along as I spoke, making sure to do the expected acknowledgments of a seasoned interviewer as I went along, then responded.
And with Keith sidelined, how much do you feel that hurts your chances? Is Keith even capable to keep going?
I frowned.
Fact is, yeah, it hurt us more than I probably realize. This stuff,
I gestured around at the forest around me.
this is his domain. It's right in his wheelhouse, not mine. I've been to tourist campgrounds before, but never anything like this. Him being out of it for now is a major gut punch. But he's still working. He'll keep going and do whatever he can do. I know that in my heart. Whatever else, he's able to spread his knowledge to others, to teach us to do what he can't.
Annabelle nodded poignantly as I talked, waiting for me to get to a proper point to jump in.
Speaking of those feelings, we've seen some various bit of maybe flirting between the two of you.
I sat back, putting my arms back on the edges of the shell behind me. The concept of this moment was crazy, that the fate of humanity in some way rested on the idea that people out there in the galaxy might be interested in a romance subplot for a reality show.
I mean, come on. He's not exactly hard on the eyes. He's respectful, competent, and he genuinely cares about others, even strangers, speaking of Ragnar and Greltha. Even he knows he'd have been better off in the competition to let them get eliminated. Hell, leaving me behind at the start could have saved him some work.
Annabelle considered for a moment.
Speaking to that thought, we all heard Keith's declaration that he would protect them all. I'm curious, what are your feelings on the matter?
Ah, here was the true question. Do I support his attempt or not? I shrugged.
The Rothani have proven themselves useful already, expanding our smokehouse, tanning leather. As to the sentiment, I stand with him. Yeah, I wish he'd talked to me about it first. But really, once you get to know him, it was always going to go this way. It was just a matter of time. It's like getting mad at a dog for barking. His whole career's been protecting lives, whether in the army or with the EMTs. Aside from that, he's known too much loss. He's got no right to be as sane as he is, to still see the light like he does. He's had his whole life ripped apart again and again, and somehow it seems like every time, he got kinder, more compassionate. If he was a total jerk, some curmudgeon-y recluse, and you heard his story, you'd just be like, ah, that explains it. But he isn't, and I don't think it's in him to be that guy. Admittedly, we haven't been here that long, but in all our conversations, he's still got that absolute certainty that we'll win this, even now. I competed at the national and world level, and I'll be honest, I've never seen anyone that strong. Even the Rothani seem to get it, that he's different, and I'm certain the folks at home are seeing it too. Last night, I asked him privately about some stuff, if we could really get away with his threat, and he looked me dead in eyes and said, "We are the species of fuck around and find out." They made the biggest mistake starting this shit with us. And I mean, is he wrong?
Annabelle legitimately laughed at the last bit.
Not at all, as far as I know. What are your plans from here?
Well, I've been out gathering today, since I know we're pretty flush with meat. Now it's time to get growing things. It's a calorie game, and I've been doing the math. With the amount of work we're having to do, we need a lot more calories to maintain our weight and fat reserves. So, as impressive as it might be for me to just go out hunting like Keith would, right here and now, I need to focus on filling out around the catch we've already got. We've got edible moss, something like mint, yams, and beans. There's a bunch here to use, and a bunch we'll need to plant. We can't just think about the meal right in front of us. As Keith put it, we need to stop surviving. Survival is temporary, and we can't think that way. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a load to get back to camp,
I said, getting the harness back in place, and hit the green button before setting off again. I heard the distinct sounds of a tree going down up ahead of me as I was nearing camp, and held up for a second. A few minutes later, I heard it again from the same general direction. As I approached, the source was unexpected. Greltha. She was literally just walking up to some of the thinner trees and pushing them down, bringing up the stump and roots with it. Jesus Christ.
Greltha, hold up a minute.
Greltha halted at their name and turned, waving to me.
Greetings, Lady Val. It seems you've had a very productive day. Ragnar and myself decided to get an early start to the night.
I took another deserved rest.
Yeah, it's gone well. Got some stuff we can use immediately, and more stuff we can plant. What's with the tree pushing? Is Ragnar gonna help you with this?
Greltha had a toothy grin.
Ragnar's already made a couple of trips, but he's more useful in domestic pursuits. He is working on shelter with Keith. I should get back to work. We'll need to get our shelters in order quickly, before the rains come and slow us down.
I continued on, and start to hear music. Keith was sitting at the cooking pot and singing country songs. The current one was The River. Next to him, providing a rhythm, was Ragnar, stripping down the trees Greltha was felling. Ragnar rose as soon as he saw me to help me get the container shell the rest of the way up. They were quite strong as a species.
Welcome back, Lady Val. Can I get you some water?
Hey everyone, hope you loved the video. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe for more awesome sci-fi content. You can also support us by hitting the thanks button at the bottom of the video. Your generosity goes a long way. Every bit helps us bring you more stories from the stars. Thanks a bunch.